Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm back with another speed build, and as it is back to school season, I thought it would be kind of fun to create some student housing in the world of Britechester for your Sims that are attending university, more specifically Foxbury Institute. That's kind of where I built this and based all of the interior decorations on. So I really hope you will enjoy this one. If you do and you'd like to download it for yourself, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. But if you're not done with summer yet and you're excited for the next expansion pack, Adventure Awaits, that was just announced a couple of days ago, I am so excited to finally be talking about the fact that I worked on that pack and 3 of my builds are in it. For example, the summer camp, Camp Gibby Gibby, I built that and I cannot wait to share. I did film like behind the scenes during the whole process, so I'm going to have a few speed builds coming out in a few weeks now that will show the whole process of creating a few lots for Adventure Awaits. I'm really excited to share that with you all. And with that, if you are considering pre-ordering the new pack, it would mean the world to me if you would consider using my creator code at checkout. It's just Gryphi. You enter it when you're making a purchase on the EA app, and it doesn't cost anything extra, but it does support me as a creator as I get a 5% commission on your purchase. So thank you if you decide to use my code, and thanks to EA for sponsoring this portion of the video. But back to our student housing. Right now I am adding some shutters on the front of the home. I really wanted a simple shape. It was somewhat inspired by the houses that are in this neighborhood, which are, I think, supposed to be student housing for Foxbury. They're just shell buildings, so your Sims can't actually visit them, but I wanted to be somewhat inspired by them, but not copy it exactly. But I wanted a really simple shape that looks like it could be a older home for university. Inside, I end up having lots of lounging space, a university safe kitchen, meaning it doesn't have a stove. There's a bunch of banned items you can't have with university in The Sims 4, which is quite interesting. And there are 3 dorm rooms that all have 2 beds in them. So I was imagining this was going to be a home for 6 students, and I had so much fun decorating their dorm rooms. I thought it was a blast. I love coming up with the different personalities and the different interests of all of the Sims. And it's a really fun way to explore the idea of decorating a dorm room because I didn't live on campus when I was in university, so I never got to have my own dorm room experience. So it's always kind of fun to go ahead and do that in The Sims. And speaking of which, I would love to know of those of you that went to college or university, if you lived on campus or you commuted or you did online classes. Everyone has kind of a different experience with that, so I'd love to know what yours was. And if you did live on campus, how did you decorate your dorm room? Did you keep it pretty simple or did you go all out? I just think it's so fascinating. But at this point, the shape of this build is done. I am just trying to figure out how I'm going to paint it. I really wanted a plain stucco at first, and then it was feeling too boring, and I tried a couple of different brick options, and I do end up actually having brick on the bottom and stucco on the top, which I think looks so nice. And I really wanted to use these red flowers in the flower boxes from base game, because the colors of Foxbury are red and yellow for their lobster mascot, which is really fun. I was gonna place them on the front window on the balcony. I thought they looked really nice there, but they would most likely block the usage of that window because most, if not all, of the windows I'm using in this build are the ones that came with high school years that allow your Sims to sneak out and escape through the window. So I didn't want to block that with flowers. That being said, the actual dorm room has some stuff that might be blocking the window, but that was the only room in particular that I really wanted them to most likely be accessible from. I liked the storyline of them sneaking out onto the balcony to hang out up there. The rest of the house where I used them, I wasn't imagining they'd be functional. I just liked how simple they looked. They're a very basic window, which we surprisingly don't have a ton of in the game. I know earlier this year we got a base game update that added a ton of new windows and doors, and they are way more simple, but before that we didn't have a lot, and these high school years ones are so good for that purpose. It's just a bonus that your Sims can kind of use them as an escape. They can crawl out the window and leave that way, and I made sure to have a ladder that leads up to that balcony. It'll be a lattice piece that came from high school years as well, so it looks like it blends in. I just wanted the option to tell all of those fun late night college stories with this build. So just starting on the landscaping, getting a couple of trees around the property, and then this is where I do add in that ladder. I am going to be moving it over 1 tile because the landscaping in that corner is sort of blocking it, but I do that a little bit later on. And this is where I'm starting on the floor plan. Upstairs ends up having 3 dorm rooms and 1 bathroom. I at first was thinking there was going to be 2 bathrooms up here, but that's not how it ended up. And then downstairs there is another bathroom. One of the bathrooms has 2 showers. one sink, one toilet. The other one has 2 sinks, 1 shower, 1 toilet. So it's a different mix. So there's plenty of showers for your Sims to get ready in the morning, but I believe there are only 2 toilets. However, I do find that kind of realistic because my friends that did stay in dorms often had 1 or 2 stalls for the entire floor of their dorm. At least that's been the experience I've seen. And I haven't seen dorms before where you weren't allowed to have like an oven or anything like that, because like there were full kitchens in some of the dorms that were on my college campus. And plenty of people brought small appliances and stuff. So I don't really understand what that is for in The Sims 4, but I did decide to stick with it so that this is functional as a student housing lot. So I believe I just have a fridge, probably a microwave, and I want to say I got a coffee pot in here as well. I might have gotten something else. I just wanted to make sure there were some options for your Sims to go ahead and make some sort of food and not just order pizza all the time, although that can be quite realistic as well for college living. And it looks like I added a pressure cooker as well in here, so you have some more options. I made sure to add some clutter in here, so there's a bag of groceries that hasn't been put away yet. There's some plates and cookies and things like that. And I believe I also grabbed a open box of cereal that's just been left out. I'm going to be placing that on this kitchen cart here, and a lot of these items I'm placing down, including the cart and the cereal, are all from the kitchen clutter kit. I love that kit so much, and a lot of the items worked well for this concept. So yeah, just finishing up the kitchen here, figuring out a backsplash. I ended up using this really outdated looking one from, I think it's just Base Game, and I hung up a broom on the wall. And then for our dining space, I decided to put 2 of these tables together to have a square table with plenty of chairs around it. It is a higher top table, so I did have to use the bar stools. But I thought that worked nicely. You can have this as a place for all of the people who live here to go ahead and have a meal, or it could be a larger work area. So I put some items on it, like a stack of books. There's also that little Android robot thing that you can make with the robotics station, which I placed in this room as well. And that's actually a party-themed one, which I thought was really fun. There's a ping pong table in here. I added darts. I'm going to be having the bubble blower here in the living room towards the entry. I also made sure to add a record player. Like, there's so many activities in this student housing, and I was really happy with that, since a lot of these things are items I don't use as often. So I ended up actually having a karaoke machine in the other room. There's a chess table, so you can work on that skill. I have some guitars around, lots of seating. And then I tried to decorate the walls with a variety of random art. I ended up having these like motivational posters. I also have some cracks and tears and stains and stuff around, as I imagine these places probably are not in the best shape after years and years of various students coming in and out that are probably not very gentle with their surroundings. I think that's pretty realistic to what I've seen, because while I didn't live on campus, a lot of my friends on campus did. So I visited a lot of dorm rooms, and they were always really outdated and old, and things were broken. There was holes in the walls, things like that, from like late night parties or just things that haven't been fixed over the years. I'm not sure hardwood flooring in here is the most realistic thing I could have chose, but I really liked how it looked. And then I put some rugs on the floor as well, which I know those are going to get so dirty and so messed up so quick in real life. In The Sims, they're going to stay the same, so it's fine. But then we are moving on into the living room. I used the same blinds pretty much all around the entire space. I thought it was pretty realistic to have a standard window covering. And then I'm just laying out this space here. I used the couch and chair from the Basement Treasures kit. And this rug is actually from, I think, For Rent. It's not one I use very often, but it matched beautifully with the chair that I chose. And then I'm just figuring out a little bookcase for the corner. I used the locker. I think that one came with Discovery University. And then I, of course, wanted to add the crest for Foxbury and lots of like Foxbury flags and stuff. So I have a large one and a small one and a bunch of activities around as well. So there's like video games and board games. There's an old bookcase over here. I hung up a little chess poster over the chess table, which I thought was really cute. And I figure I could add a burglar alarm. I'm not sure how many people are going to come in here and steal things from this dorm, but I guess it could happen. It probably happens a lot on university campuses, so that's probably quite realistic. But you can see I'm trying to lay out this bathroom now and figure out how I'm going to fit a towel. Oh my gosh, I tried to say toilet and shower at the same time, but basically how I was going to fit a toilet in here that has privacy, but also have showers your Sims can use that they're not going to get embarrassed from. And I believe these university ones don't have embarrassment, so I decided to use those with the curtains in front of them. And I couldn't have two of everything like I wanted, but I think it worked out okay. And there's a second bathroom upstairs that has like the opposite amount of items. Finishing the bathrooms and moving on into the dorm rooms now, I wanted to preemptively put down beds and desks, and I didn't end up using the same beds and desks in every room, but I wanted the ones in each room to match. So this room has beds from Dream Home Decorator and desks from there. One has university. I actually think the other two both use university beds, but I just wanted it to match wood tones and pack across a single room, but it's not across the whole floor. So like this room has some beds from university and desks from the kid room stuff pack, and the wood tones are matching pretty nicely in here. So I thought that that worked well, but it doesn't match the other rooms. Anyway, the first one we decorate is the first one I placed down, which is these items from Dream Home Decorator. And I was imagining that the Sims in this room are both science majors, but probably in different fields of science. One is more, I think, into biology, and the other one is studying space. So this side has like fish and the periodic table of elements and things like that on it. And the other side is going to be very much space focused. We have a lot of things that are space related in this game, so it worked out really well. But yeah, just getting a very small rug next to the bed, making sure to have a backpack. I also added luggage in here, so maybe they just moved in since it is back to school season. And I liked the idea that the Sim might really like plants. So I have a couple of those new ones that came with the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack that allow you to actually like care for your plants. And then I'm just picking out some chairs and some books and stuff for the desk. And then we're moving to the other side of the dorm, and you can see all of these little sciencey posters I pulled out. There's a lot of space, but there's some other like generic science stuff as well. I wanted it to be a like combination of items, and not all of the rooms in here are strongly focused specifically on their degree or what they're studying in school. Some of them are more personality based, but this one is very much focused on the fact that both of these Sims are going to be scientists. And I think this is my favorite of the dorm rooms. I just really like the colors in that one. But moving to our second one, this first Sim is very much into basketball, and they want to play professional sports. They're very much prideful in the fact that they're at Foxbury Institute, so they have the bedding to show that. I have a bunch of different fun posters around, both for Foxbury Pride and basketball. There's also like a basketball and a hat on the wall, one on the floor, although I think I moved the one on the floor to the desk a little bit later. I also added some sort of generic looking workout posters. I thought that made a lot of sense for this Sim. I'm also now dividing the room with this bookcase that has the desks coming out of it, and our athletic Sim also has a punching bag in the corner, which I thought was really fun. And well, we're not finished with this side yet. The Sim that this Sim is sharing their dorm room with is also into athletics in a different way. I was thinking they're more into wellness. So on the other side of the room, we're focusing on like meditation and yoga, and it's a very different color scheme, but I thought this was a good way to mix a couple of different interests together that are different, but in the same vein, if that makes sense. So there's a yoga mat here kind of in front of the door. I, of course, had to choose the one with the slice of pizza on that. It just felt perfect for a university student. And then there's some more posters and stuff over here. I believe a full-length mirror as well, and the meditation stool so your Sims can focus on that, and a little plant. And I think that's pretty much it for this particular dorm room, other than adding a couple of items to the bedside table. And then we should be moving on to the final one here shortly, which is for two students that have pretty different interests. This Sim is very into music. I'm not sure if they are pursuing it in school. I think they probably are, because I do add a piano in here or a keyboard. But they're also really interested in going to concerts, and they're always going to all of the different live events that happen at the school in the local areas. It's like their whole life is music. So it would make sense that they're also pursuing that in school. And so I tried to do a mixture of different posters over here. There's not really a cohesive color scheme. It's just a lot of color over here. So we have green bedding, a lot of posters with like every color of the rainbow. There's also some string lights over here and a corkboard to hang up a bunch of different postcards, but I was kind of imagining they could be concert tickets. And then I got some funky rugs down here as well, including the egg rug. I never use that item, but I really like it. That's the kind of thing I would own in real life, but I don't use in The Sims for some reason. And then over on the other side of the room, the sim that they are dorming with, I was kind of imagining was really into anime and manga. So I really focused on that as I was going through the various items. And I go back and forth so many different times on if I keep this bed swatch or change it to a different one. I just knew I wanted this same wood tone because that's what I use throughout the rest of the room. And in the end, I do end up keeping the blue stripes, but I try a couple of different things. It's just the blue stripes went so well with this rug that I just placed down, which was perfect. And then I did have to add this adorable little stuffed animal on the bed. That came with the kids' room stuff pack, and I always really enjoy adding it. I just think it's such a cute item. So yeah, just finishing up some posters over here, figuring out which things make the most sense. Since I had that plushie, I decided to actually get the posters of it as well. And those are also from kids' room stuff. And then I'm using the tool mod to rotate some of the other posters so that they're not all perfectly straight up and down on the wall. I just think it looks a little bit more realistic that way. So messing around with those and then decorating our bedside table with some books. I chose this one with the like polar bear bookends because it's so colorful and funky. And I also wanted to add some of these magenta pillows up at the top of the bed to really bring in that color from the rug. I think that made it feel a little bit more cohesive. And I just, as soon as I noticed the Freezer Bunny plushie with the fairy wings, I was like, of course the sim would have that. I can't not add that. So that'll be on the bedside table as well. And I also just put a little bit of clutter underneath the bedside table. So there's some more books and stuff under there. And then over on the other side of the room, this is where their desk is. And I thought that this little piece or large piece of wall art worked very nicely here. And then I just have like a pile of books and games and stuff all around the room. And I'm decorating the desk with a couple more items. So there's like pens and pencils and a place to have your drink. I believe an open book as well. Mostly using items from the Comfy Gamer Kit. It works really nice for this sort of space. And I love the pink laptop as well. And then I wanted to finish off by adding a couple of backpacks for both of these Sims. And that's it for the dorm rooms. And we're heading outside now as I wanted to add a little bit of a fenced in space outdoors so they could hang out here since they do have a full lot. They're not in one of those like skyscraper type dorm buildings in the rest of the world. So just adding a fence here, and there ends up being another one of the kegs out here so your Sims can do keg stands. I also add a ton of landscaping so that there's just some plants. And I'm trying to think what else I add out here. I want to say a table and chairs. We're not allowed to have a barbecue, so I didn't add that. But I just wanted to create a space so your Sims could make some memories and enjoy the outdoors when they want to get away from everything they have to do. Oh yeah, I also did the foldable bar out here, so you can throw some parties for sure. In addition to having the keg, you can serve some mixed drinks. But that is pretty much it for this build. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself to see some early access pictures of future builds and occasional early videos as well, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. Please enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.